we're gonna start just with some soft tissue work. So I'm just gonna, the outer glute hip area, I'm gonna get like 30 seconds each side. So just kind of get up on that. I like to cross that same leg and just nice slow rolls. I'm just rolling right over that tissue, trying to find that tender spot. If I find something, I'll hold it for a little bit, just take a deep breath.
I feel like I should do this every day.
Yeah, I've actually felt a lot better just doing, you know, because I've been doing just that morning mobility like this right here, and it's just, I feel better after I get done, and
Oh yeah,
kind of starts the day off right. I guess it's just a matter of like finding that time to do it. I'll get the other side too. Just searching, nice slow rolls. When you find that tender spot, just kind of sink into it. Deep breaths, try to breathe, relax. Once I get that, I want to get like that hip flexor area. So I'm just going to kind of come over and just sort of sit on it, and just, you'll find it. It's right at that, you get it. Same thing,
like
just going to hold.
Is that same area?
Yeah. I mean, literally right in that hip flexor, psoas. It's a tender spot. Hey, Dwayne. I'll get 30 seconds there too. Morning, Dwayne.
Morning. Trying to be crazy.
But I'll get 30 seconds on that hip flexor stretch. And then, so we'll get both sides there, and then I'm gonna come and get in this lat area right here, just kind of right underneath the armpit. So Dwayne, we just started with, we're just doing a little foam. You can use a foam roller or crossball, but I'm just gonna sort of get right underneath that armpit area and just nice and slow. Against, I always think the lat's real important for the shoulder. Just kind of Come underneath the armpit and just search. Find something, just take some deep breaths. I'll get both sides. Once you find that spot, just kind of hold, sink into it, take some deep breaths. You can sometimes play around, move the arms a little bit back and forth, just get some range of motion. So just starting off, we're gonna start that soft tissue work on the outer glutes, the hip flexors, and the lats. From there, we'll start getting into our stretches. So just our normal 90-90 stretch. And I'm just gonna, first one, I'm just gonna lean forward. It's okay if your back rounds a little bit. Try to keep my back as straight as possible. You can kind of look to the side, reach those hands out, try to sink into it. Again, we're trying to get a good stretch in this front hip area. And what I'm thinking about is, as I'm in this position, I'm trying to go out. I'm trying to look out farther, really sink into that stretch. But I'll get 20 seconds, and then I'm just gonna get nice and tall, and I'm gonna try to work this outside hip. I'll grab my shin, grab my hip, create tension in the ground, try to drive those knees in, and I'm trying to work that back outer hip. I feel like the more tension that I can drive the knees into the floor, the more it kind of activates that back hip. Especially driving the back knee in. And then I'm just taking some deep breaths, breathing. I'll get 20 seconds each side, and then I'll switch and I'll do the same thing on the other side. Just good 90-90. I'm gonna sink into it in my position that works for me. Just and as I'm holding, I'm trying to get a little bit farther out, sink out into it. I'll get my 20 seconds, and I'm gonna get nice and tall. Grab that back shin, grab my hip. Try to drive that back knee into the floor. And I'll get 20 seconds there. And then from there, I'm just gonna do we're gonna do nice and slow, just 3 90-90 switches. So I really wanna think about opening that back leg up first, trying to stay that nice tall position, and just real slow transition. Three each side. Try to really open that back one up first. trying to get those hips mobile. From there, I'm gonna go to our couch stretch, so or the wall, whatever you guys have available, and I'm just gonna try to get my leg as flush up against that as possible, and then I'm gonna come up. And again, 20 seconds if you want. You can sort of, just trying to get a good stretch. All along that front part. We'll get 20 seconds and then do the same thing on the other side. I feel like the wall's a lot easier than this, or a lot harder, I'm sorry, than this couch. Like, I feel like this couch makes me feel like I'm more mobile than what I am. And then I'll do the same thing on the other side. I don't know why, but it is. So I'm paying attention. Like, I know like certain sides, what side feels tighter than the other. Just good to be aware of what your body. And then from there, I'm gonna come down after you guys and just our frog stretch. So I'm gonna get that upper groin area. So I'm gonna walk my knees out as far as I can. I'm gonna try to get my feet outside my knees, and I'll come down into that plank position. And then I'm just gonna sort of sit back on it to where you feel that stretch. And I'm just gonna take some deep breaths there. I'll get 20 seconds, and I always try to come out of this nice and slow. So this next one, kind of a tricky one. It's the QL, so it's just like the outer upper hip area. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna come here, and the key is we want to keep this. So I'm gonna kind of almost like if I was cross like that, I'm gonna try to cross over here, so over the top, and then from there I'm gonna just sort of lean to my side. If you feel really good with it, you can come down to your forearm. But the idea is as you cross over, we're trying to keep this leg on the ground. We should feel a little stretch in that outer, the knee that's on the ground right here. I should feel stretch in that outer hip. And if you can come down to that forearm, that's really good. I can't. I'll get 20 seconds and then I'll switch. Same thing, I'm just gonna cross over. I'm trying to keep that leg on the ground. I'm a little better on this. But as I lean, I wanna try to not let that leg come off. Again, we're working that outer hip right there. I'll get 20 seconds there. And then we're just gonna go into our upper body a little bit. So we'll do our T-spine stretch. So I'm gonna come down and I'm gonna be in this position here. I'm gonna grab my leg just to keep them locked in. And then just reaching this arm out, I'm gonna sort of keep my fingers on the floor. I'm gonna go all the way over my head. Once I get there, I'm gonna pivot. And just find your range. When you get tight, take a deep breath. And I'll come back. Slow. Again, pivot. I gotta start, and we'll do the same thing on the other side. Reach out and just it's a lot tighter for me this side. Slow reaching out. Just find your range. But you can see, like, for me at least, that's a lot tighter on that side. So it's just, and I know I could tell when I do certain movements, like the get-ups and stuff like that, I feel more restricted on when I'm using that side of my body. Next thing we're gonna do is just this chest stretch. I really do like this stretch where we're gonna come down and I'm gonna reach one arm out to think like 10 and 2 o'clock. So I'm gonna go out one, and then the other hand I'll be kind of in that push-up position. And then I'm just gonna sort of step over. And as I do, I'm sort of using that hand that was in the push-up to sort of push. And I'm trying to look over my shoulder. You should feel a good stretch in that shoulder, chest area. I'll hold for 20, and then I'll do the same thing on the other side. Get out into that 10, 2 o'clock position, and then you're just sort of stepping over. You can kind of use that hand on the ground to sort of get a little leverage by pushing. Just take some deep breaths. Should be a pretty good stretch. Come out of that slow. I was just gonna, we'll start putting stuff together. So like I was gonna stand up. We're gonna do like our windmill, lunge matrix, and we'll do a thoracic bridge, just trying to put everything together. But like breaking down the windmill, I wanna think like I wanna hinge first. So I wanna hinge, and I'm just gonna sort of, show you from the side. I'm hinging and just sort of putting my forearms here. And then from there, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open up, and I'm gonna straighten this leg out, lock that leg out, and then sort of reach down and try to really open up. And we'll just hold for like 15 seconds. Just take some deep breaths. I'm thinking about trying to push my hips back as I'm here. Really try to drive the hips back. Open that upper back. I'm trying to pull that arm up. I want to think about being in a nice straight line between both arms. I'll come out of it. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. Just break that movement down. I'm going to hinge. And then I'm going to open up, straighten this leg out, and try to reach down. Driving the hips back. Get both sides, and then just our lunge matrix. So our toe touch, split squat, lateral squat. Just movement pattern, just 5 of each, how we normally do, just reaching down, touching the toes, pulling yourself down, reaching up. Just nice and slow, stretching out the hamstrings, getting the adductors, driving the knees out, working on ankle mobility, a lot of stuff going on. And I always think too, I'll show you from this angle, posture on the upper body. So when I come down, I want to kind of be as vertical as I can. I want to try to really drive my hips underneath. Do our split squats. Now split squats, just want to think knee, hip, shoulder in a nice straight line. So I start from that bottom, and nice and slow, I'm coming up. And can I come back to that same position? Knee under the hip. A lot of times as we start going, you'll see people doing that and the knees behind. We want to, can we always, mobility is just moving well. Can we always come to that same position? I'll get 5 and then 5 the other way. Again, knee, hip, shoulder. Trying to come up, lock out up top, be able to come back down to that same position. I'll go into my lateral squats. I think too, I try to not have that knee fall forward too much. So I'm trying to really sit the hips back. You want as much range of motion as you can here. You always think when I'm doing this, if I was to bring this in, I want to kind of be in my squat position. You know, so if you're doing it and you're not able to get into that squat, then that's something that we want to work on. You can see this angle though, knees not coming forward too much. We got our single leg deadlifts. Here, I want to think about reaching out my upper body. So my upper body's going over my knees, and I'm reaching that leg back. Should feel a little stretch in that front hamstring, glute area. But again, mobility to me, just can we go through the movement patterns and can we move the right way? It's not really necessarily about flexibility. about just owning the patterns. And then to finish, what we'll do is we'll finish just, I like that thoracic bridge. It's kind of like the rollovers. It kind of adds a little roll pattern to it. So I like that sit through aspect. So when I'm here, I want to think sitting through, and then I'm driving the hips up, and then I'm sitting back. So it's sitting through, hips up, come back. Rather than stepping over, I want to sweep through, reach across my body. So I'm getting a good thoracic stretch, and I'm trying to squeeze the glutes at the top. Now I'll get anywhere between 5 to 10 of those, depending on how they feel, but that's it. That's 7 mobility work for Tuesday. How's everybody feel?
Dwayne's still there?
Good job. Yes. Yeah. Dwayne's. All right. Well, awesome.
Thank you.
I will. Yeah. I'll see you guys. Are you guys gonna join in for the 9? Or you guys got stuff?
I may go shovel and then come back.
All right.
Okay.
Hi,
All right, sounds
sorry,
good.
my
Hi,
microphone.
Dwayne.
All right. See you.